G'day! In this video, I'm looking at creating a slideshow in Adobe Photoshop. A slideshow is a good piece of media for your social media content, and also a great way to present your work in a portfolio situation. And it's really easy to put together a video file in Photoshop. No need to learn any complicated new video editing software. We can do it all in Photoshop. So I've got a series of images here for a project that I worked on, and I've popped them into this Photoshop file on different layers. So some different kinds of artwork in a kind of a mock-up situation, and I've laid them, numbered them, and kind of got them arranged and ready to convert into a slideshow. Now I've got my Photoshop timeline open, so we can open our Photoshop timeline under Window, which is here, and you can see here there's my timeline. Now we're going to create a video timeline for this project, and there's two types of timelines in Photoshop that we can use: frame by frame or video. And we're going to select video for this particular instance. When I do that, it creates a timeline for me with all of my content layered there, so it sort of replicates the layer stack in the timeline. My timeline starts at 0 and moves forward in time, and see I can move my timeline indicator to the end of the project there. With all of our layers stacked up like this, when I play the file, we're not going to see much kind of happening. We want to actually sequence these images and kind of turn them into slides in our slideshow. So what I'm going to do is select all my layers, and that in turn selects all the layers in the timeline. You can do it from the timeline itself, just holding Shift down there. And I want to go to this little pull down on any of these layers and go to the new video group from clips, and that's going to stack all of our layers sequentially, horizontally. This little interface item down here kind of zooms in and out of our timeline, so I can go in really close, or I can pull back, look at everything in the one shot. And so now we can see that all of our layers are kind of sequenced together. So let's play that, and by default that places all of our images or creates a 5-second instance of each of our layers. So that's a video group, and you can see what that's done in the layer stack there. It's popped everything into this kind of little video folder, and there's all of our content there. We can still work on that if we wanted to. So what else could we do here to make this a little bit more interesting? Well, we can edit the length of our clips. We can just wait until, hover over the end of a clip and wait until our sort of edit icon appears, and we can shorten or lengthen those clips. We can rearrange them if we want to. I'm going to leave it as is, 5 seconds. I think that kind of works quite well for what I want to do. We can add effects to our clips. So if we wanted to add a pan or a zoom or some rotation, we can automatically do that with our with these little motion presets. I'm going to add a zoom to each of my slides, and the first one is going to be a zoom in. I think I've actually got the second one selected there, so that's going to be a zoom in. The first one is going to be, first one is set to zoom in. Second one, I'm going to zoom, but it's going to be a zoom out. Third one is going to be a zoom in. And I'm just going to alternate that down all of my clips. So now you can see we've got a little bit of, excuse me, a little bit of movement when we play through our slides. looking good. I actually wanted to have the that eyeball at the start, so I'm going to rearrange that and flip a few things around here. Move this one to the back just for the hell of it. So we start off, introduce the slideshow with that sort of stronger graphic, and then go into these different mock-ups. Anyway, I'm sure you'll have a particular arrangement that you want for your slideshows. Another thing we can do is add some transitions between each of the slides, and this is the little transition icon over here, where we can drag and drop different types of transitions. They're all pretty simple, and I'm going to use the crossfade. So I want to crossfade from one image to another, which means it's going to kind of fade from one image to another. And if I drag that to the sort of intersection of those two slides, it's going to truncate the length of it a little bit because it needs a little bit of the end of the first clip and the start of the second one to do that crossfade. But I'm going to add that to all of my clips, and then in a sec we'll have a look at how that has affected our composition. So that adds a nice kind of segue between each of the clips. At the start and the end, I'm going to add just a fade with color, and I can choose a particular color, and I'm going to choose that yellow that sort of seems to feature in my clips, and then I'm going to drag that onto the start, and I think I'll drag it onto the end. So we'll start with, oops, didn't mean to do that. We'll start with yellow, and our eyeball will fade in, and then we'll transition between each of the slides like so. So I think that's looking pretty good for my slideshow. This is something that I'm preparing to put on my portfolio to showcase this set of kind of print artworks that I've done. But a final thing that I could do would be to add some music over the top of that, and that kind of is another little level of interest that we can include. So to do that, I'll access this little audio track pull down where I can add some audio, and that has opened up a dialog box where I can select a piece of audio to add, and you can see now I've got an audio track. I'm not sure if I'm recording audio, but I definitely have an audio track applied now. To export this to a video format, we will need to come to our menu in the timeline here and click that and come down to render video. And this is our render dialog box. I'm going to give it a name of slideshow. I'm going to select a folder, and it's going to go to the desktop. And I'm going to make sure that I'm using the Adobe Media Encoder to create this video. H.264, which is going to create a .mp4 file. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to output something that's at the document size, and I'm going to use the document frame rate. Our frame rate was 30 frames per second. And I think that's all I'll need to change. I'm going to hit render and output that to the video file. You can see that that's exporting. It may take just a second. My video has now exported, and I've opened it up into QuickTime, and we can have a quick look at how it's going. So a nice smooth playback, my artwork, and I think that that's kind of framing this set of pictures pretty nicely, and so I can upload that and include that on my website.